Good evening. For both of the subjects in tonight's programme, the work and life of ordinary people of the North East has been something to celebrate. Firstly, photographer Jimmy Forsyth. With a simple box camera, Jimmy captured life on the legendary Scotswood Road when it thrived in the 1950s. And he stayed on to document the process of demolition. When the planners moved in, Jimmy was always there taking pictures. And now, at the sprightly age of 72, Jimmy is still out every day with his camera. And the Works film crew caught up with him during a typical week in the life of Jimmy Forsyth.
I bet over the years Jimmy spent more on photography than food. I mean, it is an obsession and it is a pleasure. Photography is a series of coincidences, but to get an accident, and people call it luck, but to get the luck, you've actually got to be out there doing it.
Jimmy is a philosopher of great significance. The few phrases that he uses indicate the breadth of experience and vision that come out of his photographs. He has an eye for life as it is.
I suppose I'm best known for my Scotswood Road photographs, the ones I took back in the 50s when it was a thriving community. And this is where I've ended up. The Cedars, a posh name for a block of council flats. I've never had any fancy gear. I've never had any money to buy fancy gear. I've only had old box cameras. This is me 25 years ago on a church roof. I always go where I'm not supposed to. During the war, I came up to Newcastle on Tyne. I was all right up here, and I'd got used to the company and the different people what I knew, like, so I never went back. Must be because the people are that sociable, you know, up there. All the Geordies. I get a bit of nostalgia because you realise it'll never be the same again. There was always a friendly atmosphere about the Scotswood Road area. See, Scotswood Road had been lived on for a long time, and everybody knew everybody. they broke up the community, and they ruined the whole community. And I'll never get it back together again. And they've took all the spirit out of the community. People used to mix together, and they knew each other, and they helped each other. And then they threw them from one end of the town to the other. And that was the community ruined. What very often can happen is that you say, now I'll have a picture of that tomorrow or the next day, because you haven't got a film at the time and you can't see no way getting one. And when you go back on the Friday, the thing is gone. That's why I like to discover it when it's happening. Especially if they're knocking something down, because I know it'll be too late tomorrow. Getting on with the job now there a bit, right? How long do you think it'll be now before it's flat?
Oh, it'll be a few months yet.
What you gonna build there?
What they're gonna build?
Huh?
Building company's got this side of it, but I don't know what they're doing with the other side.
I see, at least you're doing that job.
Yeah.
If I stopped in the house all day, I'd an awful job getting to sleep at night. Because you have to work yourself tired. My philosophy is now is, I'm here this year, but I might not be here next. So why worry about tomorrow? You don't look into the future when you're 72. You mostly look back. Tomorrow I'm off to see a very fine writer who wrote a lot about Scotswood Road. Sid Chaplin was very interested in my photographs. I was very pleased to meet him.
This is where you get to the most internationally famous, next to Vickers, of all the industries on the Scotswood Road. Adams's. Aye. An inspector once told me that the chap who ran it went in and found the men looking at a sporting pink one day, and he says, surely you can read something better than that. And they said, well, what? And he says, I'll get you the Times. So he got them the Times from then on. And they read it. And that's the old beauty. Round about 1830. Built by the man who, Green, the man who built the Lytton Field. Yeah, the suspension bridge.
They knocked it down and built something worse in its place.
Aye. Aye.
When you think like it was built for horses and carts, really.
Yeah.
But,
No,
it's as good as the bridge what's there now.
yeah. Actually, weren't you there when they dropped these wires?
Oh yes. Actually, at one time, I stood on the top of there.
Get away.
And took some pictures.
But
I always go where I'm not supposed to.
well, I mean, it's a triumph to me that you could do so much with a box camera.
They're better than what people think. See?
Yeah, yeah. It's not the instrument, it's the man. That brings me to a point that actually, when you started taking photographs, you weren't on a nostalgia trip.
No, not really. But I knew that it would disappear eventually, right? But it disappeared quicker than I thought.
Yeah, yeah. But you were recording change, weren't you?
Yes, it was recording change.
Yes. So
But,
that what is nostalgia? Nostalgic to me was really something new to you at one time. You're recording history all the time. The men with caps, you know, generally flat caps.
Well, you are
The respectable chaps straight in front, flat, you know, peaks straight in front, and the young dandies pulled down, you know, tilted. Have you got a picture among this lot here? I think I spotted one.
Well, I think
A marvellous picture of caps.
There.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
two of them has got caps.
Yeah.
And that gentleman here.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Now, that's a real bit of social history.
See, he's got his old watch chain hanging up
Yeah.
there.
Aye. And that's a medal for playing football.
Before I got the bus, she'd read me a passage from his famous book. I never saw him again. He died 2 weeks later.
Nobody was forced to stay in the rotting houses of Law Blucher, and a dozen like it along the road. It needed little effort to move. But now the city was in their bones. They feared the wilderness of flats and isolated houses without a centre. They instinctively rejected amenities without that highway of shops and pubs which constitutes the ganglion of a living place. The road was their life, and they clung to it. As long as they could, as long as they were allowed, they would stay. And yet their days were numbered. The road was being demolished, and the people were shifting. Some went and returned from the desert, paying double the old rent rather than be dead, content to keep one wall between themselves and the demolition gang. Some stayed and were lost.
I went over to Northern Art to look at all my photos, what was on exhibition there. And while I was looking at them, Chris Killip came in. This Chris Killip is a very fine photographer, and he's took a lot of local photos too.
This one, I can remember this one from the last time we had the exhibition. I think it's really terrific. Look at Dan Smith over there.
Oh, that's Dan Smith.
Where? He hasn't changed that much. Well, where's Gateskill?
And there's Gates, yeah, unveiling the monument. That's a horrible thing.
What happened to it? It's gone.
I think somebody took it to Scotland.
The most important thing about Jimmy is that he belonged to a particular community. And he was photographing that community as a member of the community. And people knew him. There was no sort of sense of threat. When you look at the pictures, they're all very open. People are looking at Jimmy knowing who Jimmy is. Maybe Jimmy's lucky he wasn't married. His wife didn't have a thing about him spending all this money, because Jimmy must have spent a fortune over the year on photography as an obsessive. It's more than a hobby, it's an obsession. The pictures weren't ever thrown out of the attic window in a fit. I mean, not being married, being aware of what he was doing, having the sort of tenacity to carry on and do it. I mean, it's a funny set of circumstances that make people take pictures. No, you can't have it now. You can't have a bonfire in the street.
They're scared to let them have them.
That one's in the street. They would never let you do that now.
Oh, they go mad.
Look at it. Look how close it is to it. It's great. I mean, they are a complete and genuine record of the whole of the West End of Newcastle for 15 years. And the area's been flattened and demolished. There is nothing else. I mean, you have official pictures and council views and aerial pictures, but they don't tell you anything. And also you have these other pictures which appear in magazines, like, you know, in Life magazine and stuff like that, about the sort of depressed northeast in the 50s and stuff. Well, they don't tell you anything either. They're telling you the magazine's viewpoint. Jimmy's telling you what it was like to live there.
The man who changed Scotswood Road was Mr. T. Dan Smith, because he had all the old houses knocked down and built a lot of new flats in their place.
So you've been taking pictures for over 30 years, you reckon?
Yes, about 30 odd years.
And would you mind if I had a look at some of the work that you've done?
No, certainly not. I'll get some out right away.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, gosh. As usual. I'll get these albums out anyway.
Yes, that's fine. You got a good filing system. Right.
Would you like to look at first, a bit?
Well, I'll have to put my glasses on first, if you don't mind. And these that I've got on are just for the light, you know. But just let me have a look and see whether I need my glasses. Oh, I can read that, okay. Oh, I remember this one as well.
When they were opening the Willers.
Yes, that's right. This is...
That monument.
Yeah.
What disappeared. I think
Yes,
it went
that's
to
right.
scrap.
That was the Invisible Monument.
It was made of bronze, you know.
Yes, that's
was
possibly why it disappeared. They made more of it than they
That's
would have
right,
if
yeah.
they'd sold it.
There's Mr. Gates, he's Getting the children to plant
you did,
trees.
Scar.
Sure, they will look after them better.
He died not long after that,
Yes,
you know.
about a year after.
Yes,
That's
and
all he lasted.
that changed the whole face of British politics, him dying, you know. Yeah, who's that handsome young fella behind? God, it's me, I think. You know.
Could be, you know.
Eh? What have you got in the albums?
Oh, I've got some here of Scotswood Road.
Let me have a look at those, would you? I'll put those down there.
Uh-huh.
Let me have a look at some of those if I can. All right. Oh, yeah. That one there's the cathedral in the city, isn't it? The Catholic cathedral.
St. Mary's Cathedral.
St. Mary's.
I was up there.
Did you take photographs from
Yeah,
there?
I've got photos all the way around.
So you're brave as well as a good photographer. How did you get up there?
I said, there's only one way to get up the ladder, and you will have to get up.
And they didn't stop you?
I knew that one of the men worked on the radio scene, and his sons and him were doing it, and he said they could come up when you like. And I just went along one nice bright sunny day and went up. I'd never been up ladders like before.
How far was it up?
Oh, about 150 feet.
God,
I never went right to the top because I didn't find out.
You should have joined the parachute regiment. How did you feel when you got up there?
Oh, it's all right once you get up.
And
Climbed
you
up.
photographed down, did you?
Yeah, I got all around it. And what do you think about Scotswood Road now? Do you think it's better off than it was?
I do, really. I mean, I knew Scotswood Road 1931. I started work as a laddie there at 16. And there were a family there of 10 people, mother and father and 8 kids. And the place was overrun with rats. Now, how do you see it?
Well, in one way it's better off, right? But the only bad thing to me is that all the community got scattered to the four winds, you know.
Yes. You see, those people that, if you like, worked and produced manufacturing things, they were doomed to live in the old Scotswood Road.
Well, it's like in the old history books, it's all history of kings, not history of people.
Yes.
You never see about people, not very much anyway.
No. And you see, if you see, the point where our paps would disagree with you, the community that they lived in was near the cemetery. They died of TB and scarlet fever, so even flats were better than what they lived in. See, the marvellous thing to me is that you got these people photographed as though you were like their father photographing a family.
Somewhat like a family portrait, because I sort of knew everybody, you know.
Yes. You get the satisfaction.
Yeah, you get the satisfaction, and that's as much as good as the money.
Yes, well, it's a nice way to look at it, certainly.
The money would be handy, right? But
yes.
when you're on the banks of the Tyne and you see all the bridges, you realise that Newcastle is a very famous crossing point. It has 6 very lovely bridges. if I took a photo of a workman doing a job, I would like to show that the job what he's doing properly, not getting posing. And if he got his tools lying about, all the better, because it shows everything up what he's doing. It wasn't so bad when I was on Scotswood Road. When I took the Scotswood Road pictures, because it was only about 2 and 10 for a film. But nowadays you have to pay about £1.50 to £2 for a film, and you haven't always got it. So if you've got some pictures of some photos of some of the lads working, you can always sell the lads their photos. And if you sell 3 or 4, you can buy another film. And you have to keep going that way, otherwise you couldn't manage it. I've got a good picture of you here, Billy.
Oh, I hope it is mine, Jim.
Let's have a look.
Much?
35 pounds.
Oh, I'm going to have to owe you 5 pence, mine, Jim.
Oh, I'm not very good.
Yeah, I'll not leave the country in that. Where is it? I hope you haven't lost it.
Oh,
There it
yes,
is. There you are. No, there you are. Thank you very much, son. It's all right.
Come with the next bridge, aren't you?
No,
The next bridge.
you'll have to. You'll have to sign them on. Probably you think you was expecting it anyway.
Do you know where Sunderland is?
Anyway, what you got under there? You look as if you're expecting, Jim. Huh?
Just an old couple.
Oh, yes. Ah, very good. Ah.
In the bedroom, I've got some various pieces of the old Reddish Bridge, which I got when they were pulling it down. There's a piece of wooden gutter in there too. I struggled up the bank on the south side of the river with it, and then I got it on a bus and away around the house with it. They'd probably be better in Blanchford Science Museum if they put them in a glass case somewhere. I think I've got about 7,000 or 8,000 photos altogether, because I've taken them since 1954, and that's about 30 odd years now. Some of the photos I take are probably classed as art, but I just took them like as I seen things. I know some people just look at them and say, how did he get all them fancy shades? But I wasn't looking for fancy shades, I was looking for what the people were doing, to make it look real. When I first went to sea, I got on a ship. It went out to Alexandria, and then it went round to Italian Somaliland, where it picked up salt, which it took all the way to Japan. And I come back through the Panama Canal, so I seen both the big canals like in one trip. I had a right look round the world the first trip I made. The valley, when I awoke at dawn, was filled with eddying mist, above which the silhouettes of the dunes ran eastward like fantastic mountains towards the rising sun. The sky glowed softly with the colours of the opal. The world was very still, held in a fragile bowl of silence. Standing at last on the spar threshold of the sands, I looked back almost regretfully, the way we had come. It never worries me when I'm by myself, like it does some people. Probably got used to it, Yeah, you adapt probably. I think I'm just ordinary and not over handsome, and as a honest citizen who helped everybody when he could. Well, I get pleased to, when somebody pulls me in the street and says, aren't you that man what took all them photographs? because it gives you a bit of pride in yourself.
Whistling away there into the distance, the ever-young Jimmy Forsyth. And you can see an exhibition of Jimmy's marvellous pictures at Newcastle University. It's at the Long Gallery, that's in the Hatton Gallery building, and the exhibition starts on the 1st of April and runs for 2 weeks. In part 2, Alan Plater, Tim Healy, Alan Armstrong and Ed Wilson, to name but a very few of the very many friends of the author Sid Chaplin. They're in the studio to celebrate his life and work. We'll see you then. Sid Chaplin, OBE, Honorary Master of Arts, Honorary Fellow of Sunderland Polytechnic, distinguished author, proud citizen of the North East, much-loved husband, father and friend, was seen in our film tonight. Warm and generous as all who knew him would expect, he died only 2 weeks after the film was shot. Sid was young in heart and mind, with the writer's lively interest in humankind. To a large degree self-educated, he had an awesome knowledge of the North East and its heritage, and a passionate love of its people. And there was a particular place in his heart for the young, especially if they were writers. He was only 69, with much more to give, and we weren't ready to let him go. So a few of his friends are here tonight to celebrate Sid Chaplin. And to start with, we're going to let him tell us about his background in his own words, read by Edward Wilson.
Of mining stock myself, I was first a blacksmith and underground mechanic in the mines. Mining's in my blood. Not only coal mining, but any kind of mining which figures. On the maternal side, some of my not-so-distant forebears were lead miners, with roots in Weardale, Teesdale, Wensleydale. Lead miners, of course, were the first to map our strata. Some of my forebears were Charltons and came down from the border after the Union of England and Scotland with their small horses or galloways to find employment on the early railways. Most of my relatives are or were pit engineers of one kind or another. My paternal great-grandfather came up from Norfolk and presumably walked until he came to the first pit, where he found employment firing the shaft-bottom furnace which worked the ventilation. He became a winding engineman, raised tubs to the surface and lowering men down, and then retired to his farm. It consisted of about 3 acres, but by all accounts he made a good living. My grandfather, Chaplin, was also an engineman. My father, a pit electrician. The Chaplins are of French origin. A maternal forebear went to the Peninsular Wars and brought back a French wife, so I have a fair dash of French blood. But the mining bit's the strongest. The pit gave me my first insight of men, and subsequent experience as a reporter going underground throughout the length and breadth of Britain as well as abroad helped to broaden this insight. In the pit, I helped to carry out a good friend. Later, I saw the burden of command on the faces of managers and saw something of the complexity of decision-making. Most novelists are children in this area. They simply don't know what they're talking about.
Sid's first collection of stories, The Leaping Lad, was published in 1946 and won the Atlantic Award. And thereafter, the short stories, novels and essays flowed out. The pits and his beloved pitmen so often the focus of his attention. Here's Alan Armstrong.
So we took 'em out by. The cage received us and our burden, translating us from darkness to a blinding blaze of sunshine. As we carried him along the heapstead, men and lads stood watching, standing respectfully aside, unquestioning. Then other hands than ours took over the weight. We put in our lamps and identification discs. Andrews went to his locker and brought back 2 cigarettes. We leaned against the fence, smoking, watching the unbroken ponies gamble in confusion of tossing heads and manes and stamping hooves. The subtle odour of hay came by stealth, for there was no wind. An ambulance pulled up outside the door of the first aid. We heard the steady pulse of its motor. "How do you feel?" asked Andrews. "Bad," I answered. "Bad but better, if you know what I mean. He stared at me uncomprehendingly. "No," he said. "I can't follow you. I feel bad and that's all. Fighting mad, but not to fight." A man torn like a rat in a reaper. I knew it was useless to put into words what had happened to me. That the mystery of death had been a lever to throw the dead mass of myself into a new orientation. With what? God? I scarcely knew. I left him with the last word, but he didn't wait upon any answer of mine. His eyes were upon the door of the first aid. They carried the stretcher out. The blanket covered all that lay upon it. The doors of the ambulance shut sharp. Then Matty came out, looked up and down like a man without bearings, a black, grotesque figure. Someone spoke to him. He turned unwillingly with dragging feet toward the cab and got in beside the driver. The ambulance moved away. Andrew spoke out what we all knew. "Matty'll never touch cutter handles again. Too much to expect. A pity. They were a good set of lads. Took a pride in their work, and that's rare now. Broken up now. Finished."
That was from The Thin Seam. The Thin Seam was a collection of short stories upon which was based the famous musical play Close the Coalhouse Door, music and lyrics by Alex Glasgow, the book adapted from Sid's work by his friend and admirer Alan Plater. Alan, welcome. The sense of community and family life seems to have been very strong, not only with Sid Chaplin the man, but also with Sid Chaplin the writer.
Yes, I don't think you can disassociate the two. Sid was born and bred in a village, and it always seems to me that he carried his village with him everywhere, and that whether he was living in Newcastle or when he lived in London, he generated this sense of community. We all felt we were going home when we visited him, and it was this huge extended family of family, friends, writers, actors, anybody who wanted a good high tea knew where to go, and it came accompanied by conversation and a walk around the village. Because what Sid also understood was that every big city is a complex of villages. Again, whether it's Newcastle, London, any big city is a complex of villages, and that structure is there to be found if you care to look for it.
I mean, he always spoke and wrote with great authority about pit life, for instance, which possibly D.H. Lawrence, who he's been compared with, couldn't have done because he'd not worked in the pits.
Yes, I mean, I did say somewhere that Sid wrote the best stories about mining since Lawrence, and in some senses they're better because Sid had been in the deep end and actually done the job, which I mean, Bert never did and would have been most unlikely to, I fancy.
I mean, there is an extraordinary degree of carefully controlled emotion and sensitivity about Chaplin's writing. Mm-hmm. Again, was that the nature of the man?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's going to sound mawkish, but he was a lovely man. That was one of his favourite words, lovely. He would say things were lovely. Oh, he was lovely. And he wrote out of love. And even when he was writing angrily, when he was writing with rage, as he sometimes did in the stories about the human condition, what happens to people, it was a rage because of what was being done to their dignity. So it was a rage informed by love and compassion and concern and determination that people should be treated properly and with dignity and with all these things.
That informed his writings, and indeed it gave them great strength, I fancy. Where would you put Sid Chaplin as a writer?
Well, I hate playing the league table game. I think we have to say that people like Lawrence are in some super league somewhere, which we needn't concern ourselves with. Sid was Division 1, I think. I think his writing was drawn from a vast range of sources and inspiration. He was a wonderful reader. All the best writers are good readers, so that his language spans the authorized version and the pit head and all points in between, which is a huge span. In no sense was he a regional or parochial writer. He had a very broad vision and a very broad canvas, because he wrote about places other than the north. He wrote about Tuscany, about the south. He wrote about all kinds of things.
And it's that broad vision, in fact, that he carried forward again into public life, where he was always the most generous, public-spirited individual.
Yeah, I think the best work probably, as with the best public people, it was not probably done in committees, although no one can deny the contribution to Northern arts and creating the first arts association this country had ever seen. It's the private one-to-one contact with writers, both fledglings and veterans like me who would get into trouble and would need somebody to help them. And I always knew where to go when I was in trouble.
No doubt his writings will always be his greatest legacy, but to you, Alan, no doubt, a friend always to remember.
Oh, yes, it's a double thing, but I've still got the both because I have beside my desk, I have the collection of essays. I have The Smell of Sunday Dinner there, and I pick it up and I look at it. And I can tell you that when I read the piece about cloth caps once, a few years ago in Hull, a bloke in the audience went out the next day and bought himself 2 cloth caps. And that's the power of the writer and of the man.
Alan Plater, thank you very much indeed. Well, Close the Coal House Door came up with some memorable songs by Alex Glasgow, and entertainer little Billy Fane is going to sing 2 or 3 of them tonight, accompanied by Mike Waller and Keith Davidson. And he's going to start with the very moving title song, which by now has found its way into North East tradition.
Close the coal house door, lads, there's blood inside. Blood from broken hands and feet, blood that's dried on pit black meat, blood from hearts that know no beat. Close the coal house door, lads, there's blood inside. Close the coal house door, lads, there's bones inside. Mangled, splintered mounds of bones, buried neath a mile of stones, not a soul to hear the groans. Close the coal house door, lads, there's bones inside. Close the coal house door, lads, there's bairns inside. Bairns who saw the blackness slide, bairns who had no time to hide, bairns beneath a mountainside. Close the coal house door, lads, there's bairns inside. Close the coal house door, lads, and stay outside. Geordie's signing on the door, there's Mrs. Jackson like a fuel, complains about the price of coal. So close the coal house door, lads, there's blood inside, there's bones inside, there's bairns inside. Close the coal house door, lads, and stop outside.
The poverty of the 20s and 30s, coupled with perhaps the most dominant theme of his early work, that of childhood and the family, provoked some of Sid's most telling and moving work. Here's Tim Healy to read an extract from The Bridge.
Father was on night shift. We'd long been in bed, and I was awakened by my mother's insistent voice calling me. The light was still there, and I pattered over the cold oilcloth into her room. She was lying with her dark hair loose around her. Her face was pale. Little beads of perspiration clung to her forehead. "Put your clothes on, lad," she whispered, waking Mrs. Robson up. "Why?" I asked sleepily. "She'll know why. Hurry." I hastily pulled on my trousers and shoes. When I opened the door, I found myself in a calm, still world, for the wind of the night before had gone. There was the moon, a slender crescent, set brightly in the dark sky like a stage moon on a stage backcloth. I hammered on our neighbour's door with a strangely familiar fear hammering at my own heart, like the fear of so many years before. For I was now old enough to know that my own parents could be ill and die. And I knew that my mother was very ill, I was afraid. But this time she would not gather me to herself. She lay helpless in that bedroom with the candlelight chasing the shadows across her face. And a new fear struck me. What if the candle should die out and she'd be left in the darkness? A coldness came over me at the thought. At last, the windows above me opened. Mrs. Robson looked out. "What's the matter?" she asked drowsily. "My mother," I cried. "My mother's ill." "I'll be down," she said. Grand woman. The supreme confidence in her voice comforted me. A minute later, the kitchen light went on and she opened the door. She was in a nightgown. "Do you know where Nurse Andrews lives? Hurry there, quick as you can. Tell her your mother wants her. She knows what it's all about." "But what's the matter?" I cried. She looked at me searchingly, then said, "There's a baby brother. Maybe a sister coming." I stared at her. Before that night, I'd taken babies for granted. Where they came from and how, it'd be no concern of mine. Now I saw that in some way they came through suffering. My mother's suffering. "Hurry, lad," she said impatiently. I ran through the village like wildfire. When I came back, there was a fire burning and a kettle singing. Mrs. Robson only had time to say, "She's on her way," then passed by me without waiting for my dumb answer. I sat on the couch and waited, but I was asleep before the nurse arrived. My father wakened me. His hand was on my shoulder. "Lad, there's some breakfast ready." He was still unwashed. "Mother," I said. "She's all right," he said. "She's all right now." "And you've got a baby sister." "I'd like to see her before I get me breakfast." We went upstairs together. Mother was lying in the bed as I'd left her, apart from the little bundle that was my sister. The gutted candles had left white mounds all over the table beside the bed. She looked at me and smiled. It sent a strange, tearing pang through my whole body to see her. "I gave you a bit of trouble last night, lad, eh?" I shook my head. The tears came flooding. My father pulled out his hanky, the red one with the white spots. "Dry them tears," he said. "She's all right." "We've pulled through, eh, Ma?" But there was a dampness about his eyes as he dried mine. There are tears for sorrow, tears for gladness. These were tears of joy, for the bridge between us was built again.
Although born in Shildon, County Durham, in the mining heartlands, Newcastle became very important to Sid. He wrote a great deal about the city in both his novels and shorter works. Here's an extract from In Love with the City.
This is a place where wit is welcome. There's laughter in the kitchens, the long bars and in the streets. And there's something else. This is a place where men can still be passionate about politics, football and ale, about coal and ships and painting, or on the matter of loyalty. With the merrymaking goes a serious strain of thought. You're reminded that this is border country and the bearing of a bus conductor or the odd phrase dropped by a barmaid. And without a doubt, our faults are as big as our virtues. We're proud folk, and too often this means vain and stubborn. We're straight-spoken, that's to say that in an argument we'd rather give than take it. We're broad-minded or tolerant, but too often to ourselves. We're lovers of tradition, and that means a weakness for living in the distant past, forgetting that the world has moved on a little since we built the first locomotive and the earliest steamships and turbines. Well, so be it. But perhaps you may have noticed, here am I, talking like a native son. That's the power of a city like this, the oldest, the greatest power on earth, to give to a stranger a feeling of kinship, to give him air and food and friends and fellow citizens. And the sum of all the parts is home. Yem, they call it here. For me, that new castle is a moat, a curtain wall and keep for the human spirit, a place worth gan and yemti and being in love with.
Despite his constant outpourings on the joys of life, Sid Chaplin suffered his share of ill health, and in 1975 he went through a highly dangerous heart bypass operation. A classic example of Geordie womanhood, Renee prevailed against all the odds to support her husband through the greatest ordeal of his life. Time was when it was touch and go, But finally they emerged together to take up their partnership. He was later to describe his feelings on approaching the operation, and these words make clear the sources of his strength.
In the end, it was the simple experience of a stroll along the old Derwent Valley railway line the day before the operation which brought me to the truth about myself. In a lovely little glade, I picked a bunch of violets and big yellow primroses, cowslips too. Then from a little bridge, gazed at far moorland horizons. Well, if I do have to die tomorrow, I remember thinking, I couldn't have picked a better place for it than this. At last, it was out in the open. Not just a statistic about 5 in every 100 patients not surviving the operation, but the fact that tomorrow I might be one of them. I won't say that I wasn't fearful, but in the upshot, I could say to the good green earth with a certain amount of confidence, well, be seeing you soon, knowing that even if I did die, not all would be sadness, not now or in the total stretch of existence. Later, in a session crowded with visitors, I felt the need to say something to my wife, Renee, and considered writing what might well turn out to be my last letter to her. Now, I decided against it. Partly the reason was that the little nosegay of flowers I'd given to Renee for my granddaughters also represented a message for her. Partly that I felt a farewell letter of this type would represent a betrayal of the life-enriching experience that I'd had during my walk. In many ways, this was perhaps the most difficult decision I've ever made in my life. And I remember thinking, but what if you have to go tomorrow? How awful for Renee not to have a word or two. Then I thought, but you aren't gonna die, and put pen and paper away.
That determination to win through suggests perhaps one of the best-loved bits of Chaplin, and seems to bring us very close to what is well-known and well-loved in the character of the man.
People are only real in adversity. These people are real, so you can take it or leave it. But I know one thing. I'm grateful, I'll always be grateful, for a Geordie upbringing and the Geordie twang and the Geordie sense of humour, which has given me about 16 million laughs against all the odds in this sad and sticky world. And whenever I'm up against it, and fighting, and I mean really fighting, I just hope there's one voice to shout out, "Gan on, kidder, get stuck in." Then win or lose, I shall be ready to square my account.
Square me accounts? I'll be able to square me accounts when these pits belong to us, Jackie. It'll be different when it's ours. When it's ours, Jackie lad, when it's ours. By there'll be changes, Jackie lad, when it's ours. When us colliers take control, no more 12-inch seams of coal, no more means test, no more dole. When it's ours, all ours. When it's ours, Jackie boy, when it's ours. Mind what holidays we'll have when it's ours. California, Santa Fe, winter sports in Saint-Tropez, and the hell where Whitley be. When it's ours, all ours. Aye. A revolution, Jackie, that's what we want. A revolution. I'm gonna start a revolution.
And when will that be, Billy?
Wait. I would have done it yesterday if I hadn't had this cold. But since I put that paint away, wait, I've never felt so bold. So, as soon as this pub closes, as soon as this pub closes, as soon as this pub closes, the revolution starts. I'll shoot the aristocracy and I'll confiscate that brass. Create a fine democracy that's truly working class. As soon as this pub closes, as soon as this pub closes, as soon as this pub closes, I'll raise the banner high. So raise your glasses, everyone, for everything is planned, and each and every mother's son will say the promised land. As soon as this pub closes, as soon as this pub closes, as soon as this pub closes, I think I'm gonna be sick.